What's going on, everybody? Josh Engleman for Awesemo.com, and I am back with my NBA DFS contenders on Draftkings for Thursday, January 28th. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you know when this and all of our other content goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman so you can get updates to these sim results as we get closer to lock. And finally, let me know in the comments section who are your favorite options on Draftkings for tonight's slate. We're rounding out the bottom of my top 10 with Jeremy Grant, Carmelo Anthony, Gary Trent, John Wall, and Derrick Jones Jr. They're all on the outside looking in. Who will be the favorites for today's slate? It's time to find out. First up, I'm going to Mason Plumlee. Center eligibility, but just 4,800, projected for 26. The goal is 38, and he's in the optimal lineup 26% of the time. This guy's still playing 26, 27 minutes a day, little over a fantasy point per minute. Projected for 10, 8, 2.5 assists, maybe a steal, maybe a block. Taking on the Lakers, which isn't ideal, but I don't think Mason Plumlee's worried about Marc Gasol at this point. I know he's certainly not worried about Montrezl Harrell, if that's who's in at center. Probably a little bit worried if it's Anthony Davis, but it's rarely Anthony Davis. I just think he's a really nice value for 4,800. He was more expensive earlier in the season. Not much has changed, so I like taking the value of Plumlee on this slate. 4 games, there's not a ton of options out there for you. Plumlee at 4,800 is certainly one of them. 26 minutes at a minimum, barring ridiculous foul trouble. If you don't like Plumlee, I don't know what to tell you. He's my number 5 contender. Well, he's the number 1 contender on FanDuel, but he's down at number 4 on DraftKings. Point guard only eligibility for DAMIAN LILLARD, 10,600. That's a big time price. 52.5 fantasy point projection. He's in the optimal lineup 28% of the time. Big time minutes, 38. He's a 1.4, almost 1.4 fantasy point per minute guy with no CJ, no Robert Covington, no Yusuf Nurkic, 31% usage, 28, 10, and 5 projections. Mild pace up spot against Houston, but what we're talking about here is a guy that is just going to dominate the ball. He will control everything for, 80% of the game for Portland. He's not going to be off the floor all that long. I'm not telling anybody anything crazy. Everybody knows to play Damian Lillard when there's nobody else left on the team. And today is no different. Damian Lillard looks fantastic. 10,600 is a pretty big price tag to swallow on DK, particularly on a 4-game slate, but it's not all that problematic. That's why he still gets to number 4. Heck of a bust last night, but we're going right back to it. Number 3, DeAndre Ayton, center eligibility, 7,800, projected for 40.5. The goal is 49, and he's in the optimal lineup 31% of the time. Now, I'm still expecting big minutes, 34, 1.2 fantasy point per minute guy. I'm assuming Devin Booker doesn't play, so mild increase to usage for Ayton. He's at 22%. 18 and 13 is the baseline projection, and he's getting another fantastic spot, the big pace up. Against the Golden State Warriors, they gained 3.2 possessions over their average. That's an extra fantasy point and a half for DeAndre Ayton. That's what helps. That's why he ends up in the number 3 spot. Everything looks great here. DeAndre Ayton should be able to handle Kevon Looney. He's James Wiseman with significantly more experience. Both of these things should be great for Ayton. This is a spot where he needs to rebound off a pretty ugly game yesterday. So I'm going right back to him. DeAndre Ayton, number 3. It's a center bonanza, but we're doing it again. I hate the eligibility here. Center eligible Christian Wood, 8,700, projected for 43, goals 52, and he's in the optimal lineup 31% of the time. I'm expecting him to go right back to where he was. So 32 minutes, 26% usage, 23 and 11 is the projection for the game. Pace neutral spot against Portland, but obviously no Yusuf Nurkic. That's pretty good for Christian Wood. Enes Kanter can't guard him at all, so that'll be interesting. Anxious to see how they mix that up. I'm assuming Christian Wood sees a pretty steady diet of Derrick Jones Jr. That should be fine as well. 1.35 fantasy point per minute in this scenario. That is monstrous across 32 minutes. 8,700 just simply isn't as he's not expensive enough. If he had power forward eligibility on DraftKings, he would be the number 1 contender for today's slate. But for now, he can only fit in that center spot or that utility spot. And I'm going to be rotating heavily through Wood, through Ayton, and through Mason Plumlee. But right now, Wood is at the top of that heap. He's the number 2 contender. Now, before we get to number 1, one last reminder, hit the like button. You guys know that I love the likes. Subscribe to the channel. We are so close to 50K. It's probably going to happen like this weekend. We're going to hit our goal before we get to the Super Bowl, and it's all thanks to you guys, so thank you for that. But that's no reason to stop. Keep hitting that subscribe button and follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman so you can get updates to these sim results probably in like the 6:30 p.m. range tonight, lock at 7:30. This is the benefit of the dual eligibility. Anthony Davis is the #1 contender, power forward and center eligibility, 8,900, projected for 46, goal is 53, and he's in the optimal lineup more than anybody else on this slate. 34 minutes. It's actually not all that great of a matchup for AD. I'm projecting him lower than his normal rates, giving him 24 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 3.5 stocks, pace neutral against the Pistons. He's just going to mash the Pistons. If Blake Griffin is in, he's certainly not handling Anthony Davis at the power forward spot. That's just not happening. I think he runs through this Detroit team no matter who is out on the floor, and being power forward eligible helps because then you can play him with Wood and Ayton and Plumlee. Makes things so much easier. I'm expecting him to stay here for most of the day. I'd be shocked if he leaves the top 5, barring any really, really crazy news on a 4-gamer. So it's Anthony Davis, the #1 contender for Thursday's slate. Alrighty, folks, that will do it. Those are my NBA DFS contenders on DraftKings for Thursday, January 28th. I'm on the strategy show this morning. I'm on live before lock tonight. You're going to get a steady diet of Josh Engleman for this lovely Thursday. So good luck tonight, everybody. I will be back again tomorrow morning with another edition of the Contenders.